to create that platform that enabled anyone to do these things at scale. A data scientist and a data engineer and a machine learning expert. You shouldn't have to have all of those skills in-house. This is about is making rock stars out of your people, making you more efficient, helping you scale. So that's what gets me excited.
My guest today is Michael Rood. Michael's the co-founder and CEO of the company Automated Data. Michael, welcome to the podcast, and thank you for joining.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to be here.
Can you please introduce yourself, the company, and tell us a little bit about what you do?
Sure. Mark Etherington is my co-founder. He's the chief technology officer. We are an AI platform. We're looking to help companies solve their AI challenges in a much more scalable and repeatable way. We focus first and foremost on helping them create the data foundation that unlocks AI reliably and at scale. And we ultimately have an intelligence layer as well as an automation layer that enables folks to do more with their data, as well as build agentic and other types of workflow automation solutions on top of their data. So that's what we're doing in a nutshell.
Garbage in, garbage out, right? It still holds true for AI as well as any other tool, probably even more so for AI. So I think that makes a lot of sense. I guess it might seem obvious now that there's a need for this, but how did you arrive at this problem statement, or what gap did you see where you decided the industry really needs help with this right now?
Yeah, about 3 or 4 years ago, we all were witnessing a major migration to the cloud. And the problem was that none of the data was in the cloud. So everyone was frantically trying to get, their existing databases, their applications, their, standing up data lakes is a massive project for a lot of companies. And once they got their data to the cloud, then what? They still needed to do all the wrangling. They still needed to do things like entity resolution. They still needed to try to connect their data to actually use it in any scalable manner. And that was light bulb number one that went off. Light bulb number two that went off is we started to see kind of the rumblings of enterprise AI, or the promise of enterprise AI. And it goes, you just alluded to garbage in, garbage out. It goes without saying that if you don't have a high quality data footprint on which to operate your AI, that's simply a disaster waiting to happen. So that's what set us on this journey to try to solve the totality of that problem. How do we first and foremost help someone create a high quality AI-ready data asset? And secondarily, how do we give them the tools that enables them to do these things at scale? Because the other conundrum here is you frankly just don't have that many people in the world that know how to do these things. And I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. So we needed to come up with a way for the common person, the business person, whatever, someone like me to actually be able to do these things and not always have a data scientist and a data engineer and a machine learning expert. Like, you shouldn't have to have all of those skills in-house to do some of these things. So we wanted to create that platform that enabled anyone to do these things at scale.
That's super interesting. And it's funny, my background was in consulting and financial services. And even 10, 15 years ago, one of the binding constraints was not necessarily capital to invest into a problem, but did you have technical people with domain expertise that could solve a problem for you? Do you have data scientists that can help solve a problem for you? And I think the demand for those types of resources have only gone up, right? And so to your point, the extent that you can reduce the reliance on those types of people to get some of these things done is a huge, huge boon. How readily do enterprises kind of acknowledge and realize that this is a problem? A lot of people see fancy new solutions, and I'm sure, they see AI agents coming down the pike every day to solve whatever their problem is. They probably pay a little bit less attention to some of the pre-work that they need to do to be able to leverage those successfully. So what do you see as like some of the awareness level across the industry when you're speaking to potential clients?
A multifaceted answer to that question. We decided to take a platform approach to this, for better or for worse. We had the view that enterprise AI is exactly that. It is not a point solution. It is an enterprise solution that could be leveraged across the organization to solve marketing, risk, trading. We need to be able to handle all of those use cases. Purposely opened up our platform to support any small, any large language model. Doesn't matter. We take it all. And again, what that allows us to do is tackle just about any problem, like a Swiss Army knife. knife. Obviously, that's a difficult sale for a lot of reasons because everybody wants to buy a solution, not necessarily a platform. So it makes for a difficult and longer sales cycle to sell a platform. I think the other problem right now is that people don't really know what they want to do yet. They are experimenting with things, trial and error, popular press. It sounds like most of them are failing, but I do see a lot of experimentation. I literally had one prospective customer tell me they weren't ready to make a platform purchase yet because there's still so much in the discovery phase. So I think those are two really important dimensions. I think what ultimately is happening is you have a lot of folks selling point solutions right now. I think that has a life on it because if you think of it from the perspective of the CISO, the chief financial officer, what have you, they're eventually going to get very tired of hundreds of very expensive point solutions running across the organization. And then never mind the fact that each LLM is leapfrogging one another with better capabilities every week, month, year. So how are you going to keep up with that if you're a point solution approach? Those are just some of the trends and dimensions that I'm seeing in the space, and it's why we took the platform approach. Now, the last thing I'll say is, yes, we come in with a platform, but we are trying to solve very specific problems. And so we're in the process now of launching 2 different solutions for 2 different clients running on our platform. So that in that sense, it becomes a land and expand approach.
Interesting. I think that does tease into kind of the next question that I had, which is, it sounds like there's different levels of maturity as far as like even understanding the AI landscape for enterprises, how comfortable they are with embracing it, whether they want POCs, point-to-point solutions, or like are willing to embrace the platform that kind of lifts all ships and allows them to explore a number of different opportunities kind of more holistically. How do you even go about threading that needle and like finding your first few clients? Like, how was that journey like?
Our Rolodex, we all came from Wall Street in one way, shape, or form. So we know the sell side, the buy side, the clearing firms, the private equity firms, venture capital. So we really just used our Rolodex and our relationships, folks that trusted us to deliver, right, is kind of what it came down to. That's how we landed our first 4 customers, and that's where we're at right now, just to be clear. We're at 4 paying customers. And now that we're in the process of going live with each of them, they'll increasingly become referenceable use cases that we can go to market with and hopefully do repeat sales efforts. We currently don't have a sales team per se. We're really just relying on that Rolodex. Once we have a repeatable sales motion in place, then we can invest a little bit more in terms of more types of outreach, more types of advertising, marketing, what have you. That's kind of where we're at.
Rolodex is helpful. And then once you see like success at some cornerstone clients, then just unlocks a whole, you go from a very sensible theory to like proven meaningful results at that point, right? 100% get that. I guess not to get too specific, but given the clients and you're on the ground kind of solving some problems there, what are some of the key challenges you're seeing them face in kind of scaling their data infrastructure, leveraging AI solutions? Or what have you seen as far as a couple of examples that would be interesting to share?
For better or for worse, they're each a little bit different, but the common thread for each of them gets back to our point earlier about domain expertise and skill sets. Each one of them good at what they do for a living, and that does not involve data engineering, data science, data quality, data cleansing, data wrangling, and all of those things. So we were able to leverage our technology to get them to accelerate, their own journey to get to high quality data that could be leveraged for something. And again, for each of them, that something is different. In the case of a family office, it's all about monitoring their portfolio, having an accurate and complete view of their portfolio and all the assets, which by the way can be both public and private. So it gets very complicated from a data perspective. There's a ton of documents that need to be processed. How do you unify all of your data assets when you're dealing with structured and unstructured data from a multiplicity of feeds, fund admin files, etc.? That gets really complicated fast. They just didn't have the skills to do it. We were able to take care of that for them. And there was another example of an advisory firm in the FinTech capital market space who was creating a proprietary database around fintechs, but they wanted something more than just another data asset that they could go out and sell. They wanted it to actually come to life in the hands of the client. They're using our AI platform on top of their data to make it constantly enriched with first-party and third-party sources, make it all searchable, and then make it conversational. So how can I ask questions of my data, get more contextual understanding of my data assets, in this case, fintech, the people and processes that are going on there, and do comparative analysis across different providers. Those are the sorts of things that we enable them to do all in natural language. So generally speaking, we're trying to target firms that just don't have these skills, but want to leverage these tools.
You seem still probably early yet, but have you seen that unlock any additional capabilities or like cost savings, or what types of bolts do you look to unleash or tricks do you look to enhance with some of the clients that you've implemented this with?
100%. I don't have any numbers to actually give you to say, oh, it was an 80% savings here or 60% savings there, but we were absolutely able to demonstrate ROI with them, no question about it. The new use case that we're just launching now with one of our customers is around level 1 trade support automation. We're using agentics to basically tail logs, training on documentation, logs, and other things. And we can literally generate real-time analysis, root cause analysis, as well as recommended remediations, as well as downstream automation, like create a JIRA ticket, send an email. Doing all of that right now with a couple of prospects. And again, I don't have hard numbers on it, but they're telling me quite direct that this is incredibly promising from how do they get more efficient? How do they scale better? If I can give them answers in under 30 seconds, what might take a human 30 plus minutes, huge risk reduction alone. So you don't, even if the ROI is just de-risking the organization, that's a huge opportunity.
100% agree. And you mentioned a little bit of what you're seeing in the industry, but one of the things that, we see a lot of and that people talk about when they think about adopting AI is concerns about it's moving very fast. Yes, there's so much you can do with it, but what about my privacy? What about security? How is this going to impact us from like a regulatory perspective? Is there going to be something that comes down and, makes all of this for naught, especially in like financial services sector? How do you think about that? How have you seen your clients?
It's one of the differentiators for us. So as I alluded to, we came from capital markets, we came from Wall Street, so we know what it's like to operate in a regulated environment. So we actually built our platform. It's fully Dockerized, microservice, runs in any environment that supports Docker. That's a client's cloud environment, on-premise. You could run it on your laptop if you really wanted to. We don't suggest you do that, but you could. So that's step number one. Step number two is we handle both the public models and the local/private models. If you want to leverage the public LLMs, let's just say that, for some number of use cases or integrate with Hugging Face for all the models that are there, not a problem. All of that is just part and parcel of our platform. But if you want to keep everything locked down with no data leakage, all of the private models are naturally embedded in our platform too. We're constantly updating them, benchmarking them, making changes to our own system to accommodate them so that you're always getting kind of the latest and greatest. Because each one of them is different, is better at different things, right? So it's almost like humans in that sense. They each have their own little skill sets and you're going to pick the right person or the right model for the job. So that's just how we approach it. So if you want to be completely locked down, 100% support that. What is becoming interesting here though, we run on Google for our own purposes. We can run anywhere, doesn't matter. And then we use Gemini as kind of LLM, if you will. And our configurations are set for zero data leakage, no prompt caching, no caching of any form. They don't even keep our search results. So you can get this to a place if you want where it's highly locked down and protected, no training, etc. And they put that into a contract. They put it in writing for me. So if you're comfortable with your data being in the cloud and they're willing to put contractual language around how your data will be treated in the case of an LLM, let alone the cloud, I'm not sure if people will start reacting more positively to how their data is being handled by some of these providers. Now, I'll also say not all providers are created equal. If you go into the fine print on some of the other ones, and I won't say who does what, but in my own research, not all of them are quite as clear on what they're willing and able to do. So, but I do think there's a world where it should be a non-issue.
I think people forget that a lot of these same companies are the ones that are managing their cloud. Whatever legal contracts you have where you feel safe with the data you're sharing in that context, you can have contractual agreements from an AI and LLM perspective. But yeah, I do think that Gemini, I don't know why, maybe just from a end user perspective, a little bit underrepresented and undervalued, but I think it's a very solid, LLM and really good from an enterprise perspective as well. Yeah. So that's interesting.
Done a lot of benchmarking there, and at least for our purposes, that it's arguably the best one. But now I'm also hearing about this trend of people leaving the cloud because they're sick of unexpectedly large invoices coming from certain providers, and they believe that they can do more effectively on-prem. So geared for both of those. Our platform can be fully deployed to as I mentioned, to the cloud or on-prem. Doesn't really matter. We can stitch them all together.
And there's people that have had aspirations about moving to the cloud, but that's turned into a 10 or 12 year journey, and it still has split, whether it's 80-20 or 50-50. But I guess so. looking at kind of your business and what you're doing right now, you have a pretty big Rolodex, you and your founders and the founding team from your time on Wall Street and capital markets before. When you're approaching customers or potential customers, what's working well for you right now, and kind of what are some obstacles that you're encountering?
It's a good question. It's relatively easy to get the meeting because everybody wants to talk about AI just to make sure they're not missing something. So that's been pretty easy to do. And then it gets into what I alluded to earlier, which is I'm not sure what use cases I should be working on. Let me do a 3-month internal inquiry to figure that out. So one of the bigger challenges, I think now that we've come up with a couple of solutions that we can go to market with, I think it's going to get a little easier because you can demonstrate something, you can do a proof of value, and you can point at real results very, very quickly. Because of our platform approach, we literally had a prototype stood up in 3 days. We had an MVP stood up in less than 2 weeks. And that's all because of the approach that we've taken and the data foundation and having the tools pre-built on top that'll enable me to demonstrate value quickly. I think the problems are there. I think people don't know what the heck to do with AI. But once you've found a high value, low risk problem to solve, I think there's a lot of demand for those.
That makes sense. And I guess, what do you find yourself kind of spending most of your energy and time on these days? Is it really trying to find some of those repeatable models? There's a lot of value that can be seen, independent of the client. Is it really investing kind of more time in the product to get some of those facets up and running quickly, like you said, where you can do an MVP and you can do POC in like 2 to 3 days? I guess, where are you focusing more of your time?
So we're a 5-person team from an employee perspective. We have some offshore developers as well that operate as consultants for us. So we're a really small team. We run really lean, trying to save every penny. But we wear multiple hats. I would say 80 to 90% of my time is in one way, shape, or form focused on GTM. The balance is focused on product and finance. And then I've got a chief product officer who does product and marketing. And then the rest of the team is in one way, shape, or form technology / forward deployed engineering. That's pretty much what we're doing as a team. But yeah, for me, it's mostly about GTM.
So in that perspective, kind of what metrics are you most dialed in on?
It's an interesting question. We've experimented with, OKRs and KPIs and all the rest of it. Not good at this or whatever, I don't know, but we just keep following through on those things. We find that just staying laser focused on bringing in mandates and delivering on those clients and delighting them along the way is the best KPI we can have. And so far, so good. Though we've got 4 clients that we're in the process of getting up and running. Pretty much all of them in Q4 will be launching, and that's what we're laser focused on. I do wonder, for sticking with the theme, I do wonder at what point do we start focusing on KPIs, OKRs, if that's what you're getting at, and other sort of metrics. On the sales side, we've experimented with, what are the open rates on our emails, or, what's our traction on LinkedIn in terms of, creating connections and getting meetings. It hasn't translated into anything that I can do meaningfully personally. So yeah, we just keep kind of going back and forth on whether those are things we want to focus on.
Yeah, no, OKRs are great, but at the end of the day, it's hard to beat happy customers that want more of what you're doing, right? And I feel like there's a lot of companies out there, especially just in a space that's changing so rapidly, that try and put all of these metric dashboards up, and it ends up just being a lot of vanity numbers that, to your point, don't translate into anything meaningful when it comes down to revenue or client satisfaction. What things are you excited about looking forward? And then what do you think the next 6 months to 18 months looks like?
I definitely, so like I said before, we took a platform approach, and we're not giving up on that. I still believe the day will come when companies acknowledge that they need to think about this at the enterprise level, not at a point solution level. See if I'm right, but that's my thought process. And whether that's 12 months from now, 18 months from now, or 5 years from now, I'm really not sure. I mean, you can look at what some of the others are doing out there, whether it's Palantir or what have you. There's plenty of other companies that are, similarly taking, a platform approach, some more success than others. So it's not a foregone conclusion. It's just, when are the corporates going to start picking that up? When is Wall Street and the asset management community going to start picking that up? Is something that we should stay focused on. But what am I excited about? As I work with customers to solve very very specific problems using our platform, the light bulbs are going off. Once you've automated, say, the trade support that I mentioned earlier, everybody starts coming up with, more use cases where the platform could be extended, whether that's to the middle office, to customer onboarding, to managing risk. We're not saying unleash autonomous agents that can reason to run your business. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about very tightly controlled, well-trained, guardrailed agents that have very specific and deterministic tasks that can help you do things far more efficiently and scale your business. Just as a practical example, as I was giving a demo to someone the other day, I said to him, we're not replacing your support people. We're making your entire support team the most knowledgeable, highly skilled of your team. They're all going to be at that level now because they all will have infinite knowledge of your knowledge base and what your platform can do, right? So that's what this is about, is making rock stars out of your people, making you more efficient, helping you scale. So that's what gets me excited. I'm disappointed that the platform sales not working the way I wanted, but as we're solving problems, we are absolutely seeing the light bulbs going off and how much people can ultimately do with this technology.
Making everybody on your team a rock star. I think it's a nice benefit to have if you can make it happen. So yeah. I have two kind of final questions I like to end with. We're talking a lot about AI and how clients can leverage your solutions to really unlock a lot out of their data. But I guess when you look at your business, how do you think about implementing AI?
We're using it to a limited degree, and the company that we're partnered with, that actually they created an intranet portal, if you will, that manages expenses and days off and Jira tickets. Like, they've spent and invested the time and energy to materially automate sort of some of those admin-y things. And they told me that they believe that it's creating 30% more efficiency out of each and every day for each and every person. Probably something we should think about doing. Where we've been using it is mostly around building technology, coding and all the rest of it, quality assurance, things of that nature. I would say that's pretty much about it in terms of how we're using AI internally. I do think that admin approach is going to be valuable to us someday. But yeah, where we're spending all of our time is really in the field, in our clients, helping them solve their problems with AI. We're not doing as much as we probably should do inside of our own.
Trying to understand when's the right time and what are the right things to use it for to really unlock value. I think coding, programming, bring technology to bear faster. It's like a huge thing that can be realized by pretty much any team, no matter what the size. So I think that makes a lot of sense. And then last question, let's say you had a magic wand for your business and you wanted to just fix one thing that was an obstacle or slowing you down.
A little over 2.5 years building out the platform. And it's only in the last couple of months that we've now been able to go out to prospects and really demo the art of the possible. Just at that inflection point, we're just getting started, and that's an exciting place to be. But you just finished, a 2.5-year journey up a mountain. Like, I'm kind of tired. I wouldn't mind taking a vacation or something, right? Yeah. So we're really just getting started in terms of how we go to market and all the rest of it. So if there's anything I could do to change things, it would ultimately be about how do I get more revenue in the door faster? How do I accelerate this engine? Something demonstrable that we can repeatedly sell.
Yeah, revenue and cash is king. Right? Even the Amazons and the Teslas and all that, it's like, if you have the greatest product in the world and for some reason there's a cash crunch, all that could be for naught. But I definitely understand the feeling of, like, you get to the top of the mountain, the product's ready, and then you realize there's another peak there. Right? It's like the distribution peak. And it's like, I didn't see that mountain when I was at the bottom.
Yeah, that's a very good analogy, actually. Yeah, that's true.
Well, Michael, really appreciate the time and all the wisdom you shared. If there's anywhere that people want to connect with you or learn more about automated data or what you're doing, where should they?
Yeah, our website is automated-data.io. There's a couple of places where you can submit your information and we'll pick that up. It's probably going to be me picking it up and responding to you on email. Otherwise, my email address is mrude, M-R-U-D-E, @automated-data.io. And happy to take any questions or inquiries.
All right, we'll put those links below for everyone that's listening or watching. And again, Michael, thanks a lot.
Amazing. Thank you so much.